My name is Kevin Hill. I run the Kevin Hill Fitness Instagram account. I'm mostly known for my Instagram. I'm a growing streamer. I've been doing Twitch for about a year now, just casually. Nothing formal yet, and hoping to get partnered someday. So originally it started out as a way to get myself to be more comfortable shirtless, because the person that I started out was very skinny fat, essentially, and I was very unhealthily underweight for my height, and that led me to want to do better with myself, because I had grown up super bullied and heavily, I wouldn't say discriminated against, but punished for trying to do anything outside of what I'd always been and done. So when I got to college, I said it's enough, and I decided to try and turn things around. So I picked up weightlifting and went from there. So due to a early childhood injury, I actually lost a lot of weight when I impaled myself on my bike as a kid, and I had never regained that weight, and something went wrong with my metabolism as a result of that, and it's borderline impossible for me to gain weight even now. So when I got up to college, I was able to actually put down enough calories and start working out religiously that I finally managed to put on some weight. So I started at 6'4" and 125 pounds, and then from there I put on 30 pounds in 6 months. Just due to, I'd go to the dining hall at the college and put down 10 hot dogs in buns, or an entire large pizza, or 8 bowls of cereal or oatmeal or whatever I could get in me. And it definitely showed. I definitely grew quite quickly from then. And that was thanks to newbie gains and proper, not good eating, but enough calories to fight my metabolism. Currently I'm, again, still the 6'4", and I weigh 205 pounds, which is huge for me, and it's the largest I've ever been. I'm hoping to push that up as high as I can go over time, but I don't know where that will cap out, because I don't want to put on excess fat or anything wherever I can, and just try and stay semi-lean. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at today. Again, it's a huge accomplishment for me having even gotten to this point. Because of my metabolism, I thought I was pretty doomed to be skinny forever, and I still look decently lean just because of my height. It takes a lot for me to look presentable, I guess, compared to other people, because I have to weigh so much to achieve a bodybuilder-esque appearance. Right now, to just maintain, it's about 2,500 calories to 3,000 calories a day, just because I'm very active, I'm very fidgety, do a lot. I just enjoy being at the gym as well, so that doesn't help me as much as it should, but I'm very active and I'm always doing something all the time. I typically don't eat at home, but if I can, then I like just a simple bowl of cereal with maybe some juice, and then I would go to work and I pack in 2 full meals for while I'm at work, which would be some sort of pasta with either a meat or a chicken or a lean beef, and then I'm a huge fan of fruits and vegetables, so I have a whole bunch of them packed up in my fridge at home just to be taken with me, and there's a variety of them, so maybe celery or grapes or apple or what have you, and then I'll space out those 2 meals throughout the day on my breaks, before a very large dinner, usually of some sort. So muscle gamer was a joke that a friend had actually brought up to me, because of how I'm typically seen in the community. It's not as common for fitness-minded individuals to also focus their online personality around being a video gamer, a huge gamer and live streamer, and then on top of that, even further, to also be of the LGBTQ community past that point. So it was more of a joke, and it's always been a joke in the gaming community that if you're gay and you play video games, then you are a gamer. So I just added the two together. I did not actually graduate from college. I'm a college dropout because I was forced into being, through the college, I got stuck in an engineering pathway. And I quickly learned that I did not actually want to do that. So I had to drop out as a result because it was just killing me to do that. And I figured I could follow fitness on my own individually much better. So the himbo part of that is as kind of a joke on the really outdated term by now, an insult to like bimbo. But it's more of a joke for just somebody that's not as, I guess, super intelligent, but most people laugh at it because I do all my own research and I was doing really well. And I've always done really well in my own studies, so it's more of a joke that like nerdy is very intelligent, but himbos are not very intelligent, so they're contradictory terms. Always been a gamer my entire life. Some of my first memories are playing the original Legend of Zelda on, Super Nintendo or SNES, and doing that with my brother, taking turns doing chores and playing video games, essentially, growing up. And that's, for as long as I can remember, it's been video games are just what I do in my free time. And as a result of that, it's the thing I know the most about as well. And it's easy for me to build a community around that. Along with proving a point that they're not mutually exclusive communities. Fitness and like being healthy and fit and being nerdy is usually seen as a dichotomy, but I don't think that that's necessarily the case anymore, and I'm proving that. I remember my brother and I were looking for something to do, and our parents had essentially like sat us down and just showed us the consoles that they'd gotten, which were brand new back when they'd gotten them. They were day one consoles in some case. Like we have a well-loved version of like gold cartridge for the the NES, because that was the first one that ever came out, and we have the map and everything that you wrote on and you got in the magazines. And it has all the secrets laid out on it, and it's been folded and taped and destroyed from just well love and use, but ever since then, my brother and I have just always played video games because it's a fantasy world that you can't necessarily see any other way. Not a very flamboyant gay as it was, and I don't like to portray myself that way, just as like how I personally like run my life. It's not something that's important to me to showcase or tell everybody that comes across me that I am gay, but for Instagram and for my social media, people often tend to treat the site like a Grindr or like a Tinder, and it saves me a lot of trouble if I'm not having to explain to everyone that I'm gay and don't necessarily swing in their direction. Early on, and even still sometimes, I would say once every like 6 months or so, I'll get somebody that comes along and it's they send me female nudes or whatever, and I try to like gently explain it's like I don't swing that way. Some of them take it well. Most of them that jump to that stage get really offended, and I even have a couple that have told me that I'm lying. Like they accuse me of lying just to get away from them. It's like it saves me a lot of trouble. I have to pick PC. The amount of things you can do with a PC are far superior to limiting yourself to other, in addition to being able to emulate consoles if you so desired, just sheerly based off that, as well as like some games such as Terraria or Minecraft, which are some of my favorites, are on PC and will play better on PC than they do on the other, and you'll be able to do more such as modding and stuff with that. However, there are a great variety of games that both consoles, or all three like consoles, have that cannot be played on PlayStation or on the PC, or even such that like many games that you don't want to play with a mouse and keyboard even though they're on PC. There's a couple games like Enter the Gungeon or Risk of Rain or Monster Hunter, where they play well on PC, but you'll actually want to play them with a remote just for ease of maneuverability. Fortunate enough on streaming to have gotten myself into a position of variety like gaming. My favorites personally are MMOs, and I guess they're more tower defense, such as like MOBA, such as Dota, or I'm not huge on League of Legends or Smite are big for me personally, but those are not actually things that I stream. The ones where past that I play anything adventure and creativity, so Dark Souls would be big for me, or Monster Hunter right now is something I'm currently streaming, or Minecraft is another one that was huge. And then I just finished, before COVID, I just actually finished my playthrough of the newest Paper Mario Origami King for stream. So on PC, it hands down has to go to Minecraft. I'm a huge Minecraft player. I've got plans to play it with people that I stream with frequently. As soon as the newest update comes out, along with I play modded packs constantly in my own free time. On Xbox, I am actually huge on the Halo Wars and Halo franchise, which is what they're best known for. Unfortunately, we haven't had a better Halo Wars in a while, and I don't know if ever we'll get a third one. Past that, I'm new to PlayStation. I've only gotten to play a little bit, but there are some, such as the Dark Souls series, I would say plays a little better on PlayStation than it does on Xbox. But I really need to get into that more to comment. Past that, Switch is, I guess it's got to go to the Paper Mario franchise, just because I played that game to death. But I'm sure by the end of my Monster Hunter run here, it will be Monster Hunter. I picked up streaming about 2 years ago, before having to take a break because of politics. And unfortunately around that time, the politics on Twitch as a site were getting a bit rough, and that's all everybody wanted to care about. And the site has had issues like that in the past, but I took a break for that during COVID and things calmed down. So I've just recently come back to that, but more or less I've always enjoyed gaming with friends or gaming with people that I know, even if I'm not the one playing. It's always been more fun to talk about it and talk about the community, and I just felt it was a good way to bring more of that nerdy content to what I do on Instagram. And obviously you start out small and you build it up from there, but right now the goal is to get partnered. Just because right now my IRL friend group has fractured quite a bit. Most of the time I actually just play, I would say almost every night I stream for a little bit. Be that just an hour, or usually it's up to 3 or 4 hours, depending, just to get stuff done. I don't really play too many video games just in my own free time. Most of my free time when I'm not doing stuff for Instagram or for work or for the stream goes to watching anime nowadays, and I'm still way behind. I just actually picked up By the Grace of the Gods, and then I was currently watching Jujutsu Kaisen, but I have another 8 or so that have just come out that need to be watched, so I'm trying to blow through. Just the original Legend of Zelda is probably the best. Otherwise it would be the Wind Waker for GameCube. And that's just because of the amount of time my brother and I have put into both those games. The original Legend of Zelda is quite a long game, especially if you try and go through a secondary playthrough. Most people don't actually know that there is a second run through on the game once you've beaten it once, and the entire map shifts and the order that you're supposed to approach things shifts and the difficulty jumps up. But you have to go through the game once, and the game's not necessarily easy unless you're experienced with that type of game. But my brother and I borderline killed the console with trying to play that so much, our original Nintendo system. And then for the Wind Waker, my brother and I definitely killed a GameCube while we were playing it. because we would alternate between one of us would do chores on the weekend and one of us would sit down and try and progress the game, and then we'd just come back and swap, and that would be how we ran through weeks and weeks at a time essentially as kids. But we played that game so much that we killed the console, our first GameCube, and then we later killed another one on Mario Kart Double Dash trying to beat that game, but we were both very avid gamers. As a huge anime person, I grew up on Sword Art Online and stuff like that, and I would hope that someday in the future we actually hit the point where we're getting what's referred to in that universe as full dive and technology, and you're actually able to feel things and smell things and everything within the game, and you essentially just relax back and that's how you play it, because that technology would enable so much more. And obviously we're getting there with new advancements in neuroscience and technology, where even a couple years ago they were able to restore somebody's vision, mostly in black and white, that had been lifelong blind. They went in and just hooked up a series of the micro technology into their optic nerve, and that gave them, I think it's 100 pixels by 100 pixels of sight for the first time ever in one eye. So that it's stuff like that that gives me hope that we'll be able to, or even just this year, what was it? Elon Musk was put out some technology where he had implanted things in with probes into the pigs' brains, and they were able to tell what the pigs were after, and the pigs were producing sound and in a coherent way on the monitor that was able to be translated. This year's actually been kind of funny. Last year was a huge dry spell. Nothing was even slated to come out. Prior to COVID, last year was going to be dry, and then COVID hit and it got drier. So most most media, there was really not any good anime, there wasn't really any good video games, there weren't any super amazing movies that came out last year. And then this year's been a huge change from that. We have 3 or 4 different Pokemon games coming out, even if one of them's a re-release or a remake. We have a whole series of, I think there's a new Souls game slated to come out. We have more information coming out about Fable, which is huge for the Xbox community. Xbox bought Bethesda, and we'll get, what is it, Star? I don't know. It's their space adventure solo game coming out, and that should be coming out this year. We've got another huge Minecraft update coming, as well as Terraria's final update just released. Again, final, but yeah. So in addition to, like I said, not so many anime, can't keep up. I would suggest to just do it. The hugest and the largest and the most difficult part of posting to Instagram or posting to any social media is getting into the habit of just doing it. My first maybe 1,000 posts were not very noticed, and maybe I only had 20 people that liked a picture, or maybe if I'm streaming in any night, I only have a person watching, if any. But I know people like to go back and watch the VODs, or I know later on that it's just getting into the habit of doing that really helps, along with being yourself. If you try to act like somebody that you're not, you might gain temporary fame from that, but you'll often end up self-destructing. You need to be able to sustain this long term for it to be something successful for you and fun. I can't imagine pretending to be somebody you're not is very fun for yourself. And honestly, if you don't enjoy it, you shouldn't be trying to get into social media as a profession. So it's always a bit of, I regret the name that I chose for my account when I started, because I'm not the most creative person by default, and I'm learning to be more creative as I go, but because of the name that I chose, I'm kind of locked into it where I can't change it easily. The best analogy I've heard for it is trying to steer social media is trying to steer a cruise ship. It's going to take you a little while to get turned around in any direction or turn the ship. But because of the name that I've chosen, anybody that knows me in my professional life or my day-to-day life can find me online. And I am one of the top results that if you go on Instagram to search for me, or even on Google, you'll find me. So anybody that that searches for me and knows my name in my professional life has the chance to see what I post on Instagram, which can oftentimes be more risque, so it's always a chance. So the most important thing for a good stream is definitely, for me, it's engagement with community. I always like to engage with whoever wants to be in chat actively talking and whatever, and I know a couple people have voiced to me that they like to listen to me while they're doing schoolwork and or like right before bed, because apparently I have a very soothing voice. To me, I sound a little more grating, but I think that's anybody who listens to themselves on film. You're like, that's not me. But I know for a lot of people that they don't actually like to engage with their community much on stream. But for me, I even go so far as to encourage a couple people, like a French fan and a Hindu fan that speak mostly their own language and they're learning English, that they should get out there and just learn it and try and attempt it. That because I will not tolerate people making fun of them for poor English. Like, that's not okay for me and any of my communities and my platforms. It's better to just be yourself most of the time. And streaming successfully, it's actually been going better when I just pretend like I'm just getting out to talk with friends. And that's how again, with my community, that's how I want it to be. I don't want it to be something where I need to put on a persona or a facade or like, this isn't something stressful for me. It's something that I get on to just relax with as well as them. And just like give people a place to come to be themselves and relax. As long as I can. I will play video games and stream as long as I feel that I have a community there to participate with and engage with. My exercise routine is very like loosely structured. Essentially, I'll go into each month with more or less an idea of like something I need to work on to better balance or whatever. So for a few months ago, my arms were actually falling farther behind, so I started to focus on that more. Coming up here shortly, legs is going to become a bigger focus along with back, because those just need to catch up along with other pieces, in addition to more cardio. I'm mostly a gym person. I just enjoy the culture of it, I guess, overall, and it's a place to get in and like not think about the outside world as much after a stressful day at work or whatever. Favorite muscle group to work out by far is chest. It's because I am self-taught at the gym and nobody's ever really given me a formal education on how to lift things. Everything I've done has been solo, and chest was the first thing I taught myself. And as a result, I have the most knowledge on how to work out a chest. Past that, my least favorite is legs. Because of my height, it's very difficult to safely work out. Lots of the normal gym bro things don't apply to you, where normally if you're way shorter, like my roommate was who tried to teach me legs, essentially it was like, oh, it's ass to grass to get a good squat in, and when you hit a certain height, that actually stops being true because it puts so much strain on your ankles and your knees to go down that deep, especially with heavier weights. So that's been something hard to learn. My favorite exercise to do is a incline fly, dumbbell fly for chest. Just the amount of the muscle it works is very satisfying, and you can really build a good pump if it's done properly. Most people don't get enough stretch on their flies though when they do them, at least in my experience. And then my least favorite to do for other exercises would probably just be a traditional, or I'd say a front squat. It works a different set of muscles and it's very good for you, but it is rather difficult to balance, and for me it sits very painfully on my collarbone and on my arms. It was really hard when I started to get everybody to be on board with it. My original friend group that I had when I started working out was people I'd been friends with for many, many years, and they actually took bets in front of me at the time for how long I'd continue to do it, which felt really good years later, when they all said like they lost that bet because I continued to do it to this day. But at the time, it was really, really cruel of them to like do that in front of me. There will always be people that want to put you down and people that want to see you fail, but the most important thing to do for me is just to continue to ask yourself whether or not this is something you want. Because at the end of the day, for people that I offer to help or provide advice to, I can't make you get into the gym or make you want to change your life. That has to be something you have to choose at the end of the day. I can provide you the tools. I can't make you desire that change. I would like to get into, or I'd like to try professionally bodybuilding a couple times. I don't know if it's anything I'd want to do like as a full-time profession, or like try to pursue past that. I would like to attempt more professional modeling, but I obviously don't know where to start because that industry is super muddled and very convoluted to try and get into, along with Denver not being the best for agencies. You kind of have to be on the coast for that. So the hardest part is actually with work, because of the place that I'm working at currently is a tax firm. We've actually hit our busy season, so it's expected of you to get in 45 to, if not up to 60 hours a week at the office to just keep up with it, because we are a large tax firm. But past that, for me, the gym is very like stress relieving. Again, you might not be able to punch that coworker or that like customer that like is just really just the worst to you and treating you like scum, but you can go into the gym and throw around a couple 100 pounds for a few hours, and that really helps get out a lot of stress. But for me, the gaming is, again, just remembering to be myself and just relax and let it flow as it does naturally. There's no need to force being somebody that I'm not. Like, for me, a huge motivation in life is just to be able to like get home and like relax. So where people might work to come home and drink, my equivalent of that is working to come home and play some video games. But I knew that wasn't sustainable in the long run. So like getting to be healthy, getting out of like, for my height, again, weighing 120 pounds was really, really unhealthily low weight, and it showed. And so now it's just turned into a big mix of the three that I try to balance best I can. If you're going to build an online presence, figure out what you want it to be in advance, or as you go. Like, you should have a primary motivation and then probably a secondary motivation, and then also figure out what your values are. A lot of people will flip-flop, or it's huge in fitness to do one thing for a while and then swap over to another and swap over to another, and that oftentimes lets people self-destruct on their way to being popular. If you can figure out what you want beforehand, then that'll help you a lot in the long run. So for me, again, that's self-improvement and community. But everybody's going to have a different goal.